Hello, welcome to Mr. Paul's Pantry. I'm Mr. Paul, and my recipe today is for something called singing hinnies. Strange name, isn't it? Singing hinnies. They're very much like a Welsh cake, but just like a Welsh cake, you don't need an oven to make them. So I'll show you how to do it. So here we are with the ingredients for these singing hinnies. I've got 300 grams of flour. That's plain flour or all-purpose flour. 1 teaspoonful of baking powder. That is not baking soda, it's baking powder. Half a teaspoonful of salt. 75 grams of lard. Now if you don't want to use lard or you haven't got any lard, you can use any white shortening, which in the UK is called either coquine or Trex or something like that. In the US, I think it's called Crisco. So 75 grams of lard or white shortening, 75 grams of butter, which has to be cold, and 100 grams of sultanas, currants or any dried fruit. I use sultanas simply because here in Spain, currants are impossible. And 2 to 3 tablespoonfuls of milk just to hold the whole thing together. So let's have a go with them. Okay, we'll start putting these ingredients together. I'll just remove my rings, and the first thing we need to add is the flour. Then we need to add the lard, followed by the butter, followed by the half a teaspoon of salt. And we're going to just gently rub these together as quickly as we can. We don't want to melt the lard or the butter too much. We want to just rub it all between our fingers, just like I'm showing you now, but as quickly as possible. And then when we get it looking like breadcrumbs, which will just be a couple of minutes, that's all, then we can start and add the rest of the ingredients. We're going to add the baking powder. 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Mix that up nicely. Now I hope you can see that it's very, very breadcrumb like. We need to add the sultanas next. Give them a little mix. And then we need to start getting this together. So what we're going to do is to add some of the milk. Now remember, we want a nice firm dough, but not too stiff. So I'm going to use a tablespoon here. And I'm going to add 1, 2, 3 to start with. 3 tablespoons. And then I'll start and try and bring that together. Now the reason it's not an exact science as to how much liquid you put in things like this is because the flour can be a lot drier in some areas than in others. Now it needs more than that, it's not coming together enough just yet. So I'll put another tablespoon in there and we'll see how we go with that. See, here in Spain, when in the summertime, the flour gets very, very dry, so you need to add more liquid, of course. Now we don't need to knead this like bread, we just need to push it together. Can you see it's starting to come together now? It's going to need a little bit more milk, and I'll just put another spoonful in and that should do us. So there we are, it's all coming together now nicely, and we have a ball of dough. You can see it's pretty dry, It's soft but pretty dry. It shouldn't be sticky, that's the main thing. Next thing we need to do is to roll it out. I'll get some flour and we'll start to roll it out. So we're going to flour the surface and we'll start to roll out the dough. Now you might find it's a little bit cracky. Don't worry about that. It won't make any difference if it's, just push it together, keep it moving so it doesn't stick, and then keep turning it and rolling it. We need to roll it now to about 2 centimeters. Don't worry if it does crack a little bit, doesn't matter. Now depending on what size cutter you use, I'm going to use a 6 centimeter one. Depending on what size cutter you use determines how many you get out of it, of course. Now the one thing we must remember is when we push it down, we don't twist it. You push it down, you can wiggle it from side to side, but don't twist it. Just push it down and leave it at that. It's simple. Now as you can see, I have a nice heavy bottom frying pan there. You can cook them on a griddle plate, which is as were always done when I was a child, always on a griddle plate, simply because we didn't have a cooker. We cooked on an open fire outside, and it was a griddle plate, a stew pan or a frying pan. That's the only method we had of cooking. So I haven't a griddle plate handy today. I have one somewhere, but I don't use it much, so I haven't bothered looking for it. A nice heavy bottom pan, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to butter that very lightly with a little butter, and we're going to place the singing Hinnies in it. Handle them gently because, as I say, sometimes they do crack a little bit, but I'm going to put 4 in there for this time, and it needs to be on a low heat. Every recipe I've looked at on the internet all say medium heat. You'll burn them. It needs to be on a low heat, otherwise they'll burn on the bottom and be raw inside. These will take 5 to 6 minutes on one side. So we'll come back in 5 minutes and we'll see how we're doing there. Right, we're at the 5-minute mark. Let's have a look and see how they're going. Just turn one over. Ah, lovely. We've got a nice colour coming on the bottom. Not too dark. We don't want them too dark and we don't want them too pale. But they are looking quite nice. Flip them over and leave them another 5 minutes and we'll see how they go from there. So here we are, second side. Put them onto a cooling rack. I'll just let those cool and then we'll be back shortly and have a taste. Well, here we are. Have a taste of the final product. They're nice little cakes. I'm going to just have just a little bit of butter on there. They're absolutely delicious. Beautiful. Give them a try. I'm sure you'll like them. If you've enjoyed this video, go underneath, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed already, do so please, and press the little bell icon at the side, and that'll tell you every time I put up a new video. If you have any comments, you can leave those underneath as well. Any requests or anything like that, I'm always pleased to read them. So this is Mr. Paul saying bye for now, and I'll see you next time.